Hi. So today we're going to go over how to create a new client chart in Profiler. You would only need to do this if the person that you're working with doesn't already have a chart in the Profiler health record system, meaning we have never had any contact with them whatsoever, okay? Common reasons we would need to do this is for a new person coming in the infant and toddler program. Emergency services will often encounter new people in the community. Intake. If you're getting a referral from another program, there's no need to do this because you know they're already in the system, right? Okay, so make sure that before you create a new chart, there is not already one in the system. We've had that happen a couple of times where we've had clients with more than one chart and different staff working out of different charts. And that could be very dangerous because it's hard to provide good continuity of care when we don't know what the other people are doing. Okay, so this is a really important thing to do. So a lot of times what people do, just kind of out of habit, is to go to Navigator, and I am going to put in somebody who is not a real person. She's actually a character from a book, Hermione Granger. Okay, and then I do a search. And I get this message, there's no clients that match the text entered. So I click OK. Well, in a lot of cases, you might think, oh, okay, I can't find them in the system. I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus here or new client over here to the left and create a new record for the person. That's not exactly what you want to do, okay? Because we can't just go off of the spelling of a name, I could have switched some letters in the name. She could have changed her last name since the last time we met. We want to look at other identifying factors before we create a new chart. So what we're going to do is I'm going to close this. And I'm going to click on this little guy over here, button called Find Client. So when I click on Find Client, I'm going to hit the search button. Okay. Then I'm going to get a different selection of things that I can search from, okay? I can search by last name, first name, social, date of birth. I highly, highly recommend searching by social and date of birth first, in addition to the name, before you ever create a client chart, okay? So one other thing to keep in mind about this screen is that you don't want to put all the information. Less is more on this screen. You want to search each piece of information individually, okay? So I'm first going to search by social security number. And to do that, I'm going to click the checkbox there. And where it says social security number, I can leave it on starts with, and I could even just put the first three, right? Is means it's the exact social security number, exact match, or ends with, you could even do the last four. Okay, so I'm going to do, let's do social security number is, we'll do an exact one because there is a key piece of information that I want to tell you about this, okay? So when you're doing an exact social, you need to put the dashes in. If you don't put the dashes in, it might not find a match when there really is a social in the system, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to put in a social that hopefully doesn't belong to anyone, okay? And then I click OK. See how it did that little swoosh refresh thing and my search results are blank? That means it did not find anybody with that social security number. You might think, great, well now I'm going to put in a new client. Not so fast, because this. What you want to do is you want to check other pieces of information first. Sometimes when we enter clients in the system, we don't have all of their social security number information yet, or they're in a state that they're not able to provide it for us, okay? So, or it could even be human error where we typed in the numbers, reverse some numbers there, okay? So what you want to do is we want to do an additional search. We want to go back up here and click Simple Find and search again, okay? Here we want to select, I always recommend date of birth, okay? So I'm going to make up a date of birth. And the good thing here is you don't want to click on the down arrow and scroll back to, you know, the 40s or the 60s, especially if you have a client who is older. It will make your life a lot easier if you use your number keys. So for example, I would put 2 for February here. And let's do February 29th. Not that many people have that birthday, right? And then I'll do, let's see, 1823. I don't want to bring up a real person because I want to keep everyone's information confidential. But you would put the exact birth date there and then okay. See, it did the swoosh again. It did not find a hit on the birthday. Okay. I actually recommend searching 3 times. First time, social. Second time, date of birth. And third time, I'm going to do the same thing. Click Simple Find, search, and then do a name. Okay, so we'll do, and I'll put, I'll make up a first name that I don't think exists because, again, I really don't want to bring up an individual's chart because I want to protect people's privacy. And then I'm going to hit OK. So if I've done my search on social, date of birth, and search the name and I didn't get a match on any of those, then I know that I am good to create my new client chart. Okay, so then I'm going to hit cancel here and I want to say yes. Okay, then I'm going to click this button called New Client. That will generate a new chart number for this person. Okay, the system generates the number. I just put in the identifying information. So I'm going to click where it says New Client. It says, you are about to create a new record. Do you want to continue? It gives you another opportunity to not create a chart number, remind you to do those searches before you create this. I can't emphasize that enough. We definitely don't want duplicate charts in the system, and they really are a nightmare to fix, okay, for me. Okay, so I'm gonna say, yes, I do want to continue because I've done all my due diligence and I know that I do not have this particular client in the system. Okay. See here at the top, it generates a client ID number. It goes in chronological order, so it just finds the next number in the system that's not used. Okay. These green fields are required. Okay, so I at least have to put last name, first name. Highly recommend entering a middle name. If you have it, it really helps differentiate client charts, especially because we have a lot of people with similar names in the system. So I'm going to do Granger, Hermione. She's a character from the Harry Potter books. I'm going to give her a middle name. I don't really know what her middle name is, but we'll make up one. Alice, sorry. Prefix you can add if you want to, Mr., Mrs., Doctor. It's not required. Suffix, though, you definitely want to enter if they are junior, senior, second, the third. This, again, will help you differentiate between charts when we have multiple family members in the system that are all related to each other. Okay. And here, you want to enter the Social Security number if you have that information. Now, it only has one green line underneath. It's not solid all the way around like the name is. That means it will let you save this chart without entering this information in there. However, it is recommended that if you have the social, that's what that one line is. It's not required field, but a desired field. If you have the information, please put it in. So I am going to make up a fictional social security number. The system will give you a warning if you try to save it and someone else has that social security number. The statuses are not currently, they're useful, but they're not a required field. But I'll explain what they mean. Declared means this social security number was told to me. It can be refused to provide. Verified means that this social was verified via like your social security card. Okay, seen documentation that that's the social security number. I'm going to say declared, say that's what they told me it was. Okay, then you have a gender field. Please be mindful. You want to choose the gender that the individual identifies with. Don't guess, please ask, okay? So you have several options: female, male, non-binary, trans female, and trans male. There's even an unknown option if you are, let's say you're throwing this in a hurry, you haven't had a chance to talk to the client. So there is an unknown option as well, but we definitely want this to be a consumer-led response on the gender. That is a field where if it changes over time, we can also go back and update the gender, just like we can go back and update the name if a person has a name change. Okay. While I'm discussing this, one thing to keep in mind is the name on the chart has to be their legal government name. Okay, this is a health record, usually matches whatever is their insurance card, whatever's on their license, whatever's on their identification. Okay, if they change that at any point, we can also change our health record to match what is accurate for the person. Okay, so even though this information that we're putting in is accurate at the time, we can always update it and go back if we need to. Okay. So here we're going to enter her date of birth. And I know when I did the search, I entered her being crazy, February 29th in the 20s. But you can put in whatever date of birth obviously belongs to the person. So I like February 29th because that's a unique birthday. It's not my birthday though. And then let's see. I'll say, I'm going to make her an adult, so I'll put 83. And again, you don't have to click the arrow and use the calendar. You can use the number keys on your keyboard to enter this date of birth. Again, the status is, and I don't know how we estimate birthdays, but declared, and I've never seen estimated used. Declared is I verbally was told that this was their date of birth. Verified means I saw it on a piece of identification that belongs to the person. There is a field here called deceased. If someone passes away, hopefully from natural causes because they're a ripe old age, then we can go back and mark their chart as deceased. But please be mindful not to fill that field out by mistake. Okay, that will be a flag in the system. It's like, why has this person continued to have services after they're marked as deceased? We definitely don't want to mark someone deceased by accident. Okay. All right. So the next part in creating a chart is you'll see that there is an alerts field here. Okay, if there's an alert for this person, meaning their name is the same as another person, they have a severe allergy, they are a fall risk, they are a NGRI, that stands for not guilty by reason of insanity client, if they need an interpreter because maybe they speak a different language besides English and we want to mark that. Anything like that you want to enter as an alert, because that would be anything that anybody opening that particular person's chart would need to know about that person, whether it's an admin staff, a case manager, a doctor, any staff. If it's some important piece of information that really needs to be relayed to anybody who opens that client chart, that's what we use those alerts for. Okay, so you can add that as needed, and then you just put an effective date. And keep in mind, you don't have to fill in all of these fields if there isn't one that fits. So just kind of check your options and see if there's something that matches. And so if there is, you can fill in all the fields, but as long as you put in the alert type or the alert, and you can even make a little note here. So I've indicated she has an allergy, so I can say severe peanut allergy. That might be helpful if I spelled it right. Carries EpiPen. And then it's really great if you can indicate your name so that they know who entered it. Effective date is the date that you're entering it. We're making a brand new chart, so it's going to be today's date. There is an expiration choice here where if, it's not usually the case of peanut allergies, but let's say if the situation changes and I don't need this particular alert anymore, I can open it back up and expire it. I'm going to click OK. All right. Aliases, that is if they go by a different name or have gone by a different name. Aliases sounds a little bit like criminal activity, but it really just means alternate names. So if I want to add an alias, let's say she likes to go by, I don't know, what's a nickname for Hermione? Minnie, maybe? Okay. Let's say she prefers to be called that. Okay. Then I can put that information there. Okay. Let's say also in the case of a transgender individual, maybe their legal name hasn't yet been changed to match their gender identity. Okay. In that case, the legal first and last name would be at the top of their chart. The alias would be what they prefer to be called, what their name is that they go by. And you can indicate the alias type by saying preferred name. There's also an option for name change if they've had several names legally. Maiden name, if they've ever gone by a maiden name, and obviously their chart name would reflect their current name, but they might have a different name in the past. So you just have several options here, and we are a person-centered organization. So we always want to call people what they are preferred to be called. Okay, it's very respectful, and it really helps with developing that good rapport and relationship with the person. So this way we can indicate what a person prefers to be called, and we can make sure we use that name all throughout the chart, whether it's in their progress notes. We definitely want to let the person that we're serving drive that. Okay, so you can definitely enter in a preferred name here. Okay, I can even make a little note. And then it will show up right there on the front. So again, anyone who opens this chart will see what she prefers to be called. Okay, I know it's a lot of information. Hope you're still with me, but we want to make sure this is correct, okay? Hang in there. All right, so now we have a choice. Again, it's green, required, green all the way around. CSB appointed AR. AR stands for Authorized Representative. Okay, so if the person does not have an authorized representative, you can select no. There's also one for yes if they do have an appointed authorized rep. You also have NA for not applicable, U for unknown, and X is not collected. So really you just want to make the best choice here based on the individual. In our scenario, she hasn't been with us yet, so we haven't had anyone appointed to her. So I'm going to say no. And does she have a court-appointed guardian? Okay. This is most commonly used for our clients in developmental disabilities program. However, it is possible that other people additionally could have someone appointed as a guardian by the courts. So please make sure that you differentiate between the two. The first one is there one appointed by the CSB for just CSB purposes, and the next one is a legal court appointed guardian. Okay, so they have a guardian who would sign all their paperwork and help them with their consents and make sure that they, especially if they don't understand kind of what they're consenting to. So you really want to make sure that if either of these things are applied for the person, that you fill that out appropriately. Okay, if you have any questions, you can follow up and ask. Please reach out if you're not sure. In this particular situation, I'm going to say she does not have a court-appointed guardian. And at this time, she does not have an advance directive. See if there is one, okay, so where it says yes, see attachments. That's because if they do have an advance directive, we want to be aware of their wishes, okay, in case something happens to them, and we want it to be scanned into the system. Okay, so that's what that means, referring to attachments. Okay. These other boxes, okay. Some of these on the right are useful if you have that information to fill in, but it's again not required to save a client chart. Okay, it is encouraged if you know this information because it helps, but that's very straightforward basically. Primary care physician, address, date last seen. That's if you know that information, you can go ahead and fill it in. If not, you can leave it blank. It will still let you create this client chart. Okay. So the next part is we always, whenever we are making a new client chart, we have got to fill in this particular area called personal demographics. Okay. The other ones we can go back to and add. Some of them we don't even use on a regular basis, but personal demographics are required for every individual we serve. Okay, so I'm going to click personal demographics. Because this is a new client, they do not have a demographic record here. Okay, if it was an existing client, they should have one already, and I would never need to create a new one. I could just update the existing one. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plus to add new demographics. This is where I'm going to fill in information about her employment status, citizenship, marital status, languages, education level. These are required for our state reporting, and we have to respond to these for every individual. Even if you do not know, you still need to go in, hit the drop-down menu for each section, and for every single option, you have a choice called unknown. So even if you are not aware of their employment status or citizenship or any of these fields, you still need to go in and click the plus and enter unknown because there will be an error if it's blank. So we cannot leave these blank. Okay. So I am going to say that she is not in the labor force, she's a student, but again, you just pick the choice that makes the most sense. Okay, the effective date is the date you're entering it, usually the same date you're creating the chart. Okay, and then you'll see here that the employment status is there. I'm going to add her citizenship. I'm going to say she is a U.S. citizen. Effective, and okay. Languages, let's say she speaks English. Proficiency, fluent. Okay. Marital status. I'm going to click the plus. This is going to be very repetitive, but that makes it a little bit easier to learn how to do it very easily. Okay, so I'm going to say she's never been married. Effective and okay. And education is the highest level of education that someone has completed. Now, the state updates our fields periodically and retires some. So the ones that are retired say do not use. Please don't choose those. Do not use really means don't pick these, okay? So you just pick the highest level of education they've completed. Now, if they have a GED, this is a question I get a lot, select grade 12 because that's the equivalent of completing high school. Okay, so I am going to click grade 12. Effective and okay. All right, so now there's an additional set of fields on this tab called additional info. Okay, this is our ethnicity. And the US Census breaks out ethnicity as just Hispanic, Mexican, not Hispanic, or not Hispanic origin. Okay, it's a little bit confusing. So just think of when you're looking at ethnicity, you are just selecting whether this person has Hispanic or Latino, Latinx origin or not. Okay, and again, there's an unknown option if they're unable to answer the question or you just don't have this information yet when you're completing this. Okay, so I am going to say that Hermione is not Hispanic origin, effective today, and okay. And again, don't feel like you have to guess, okay? Or just fill anything in. If you're not sure, put that unknown so that then we can make sure we have it correct. Okay, so for race, let's say that Hermione Granger, and again, see you have several options as well as multiracial options. As an unknown option. So again, this is how the person identifies and this is information they can give you. So we'll say she is African American and white, effective, okay. Now, a couple of these do not have the green lines that go all the way around. And what does that mean? Right, that's not required. It means if you have that information, we definitely want it. But if you don't, the state isn't requiring anything in that particular field. But it is helpful from a clinical standpoint. So let's say her religion is agnostic. And again, there's other not listed, or you can even leave that one blank because there's no line around it. It's sometimes helpful to know about that. Okay, living arrangement. I'm going to say she is living in a residence. And we'll say she is living with relatives. So again, just pick the answer that fits best for your person. And if you're not sure, select unknown. Okay, so at this point, we're going to say she is a voluntary person and effective and okay. Veteran status, we'll say no, she's not going to be a veteran. Again, there's that unknown option if you're not sure. And sexual orientation is one of those things that are one of those fields that are encouraged for you to fill in, but are not required. The state doesn't pull it, but it's useful to know. We'll make up one for her. Click OK. So those are all the fields on that additional information tab. There's one more tab to go when it comes to demographics. We're going to go to the tab called Notes and Dates. Okay, this is where we make our effective date for our entire demographic record today. This is if our individual is using substances, so that's what the SA stands for, substance abuse, and pregnant. Okay. You'll see there's some choices here. Please check these and make sure they fit for your person. Okay, you have no, not applicable is for males. Okay, not collected is you didn't ask the question or didn't check. Unknown is you're not sure, and yes if the answer is yes. So she is a female, but not pregnant and substance using together. So we're going to say no. This one is if she has dependent children and also is dependent on substances. So I'm going to say no in this particular case. Again, you have an NA option for males. Peer recovery support. Okay, so this is if they've received any peer support services or another peer-led treatment option such as Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. Have they received any of those type of peer-led services? Okay, and if they've only received therapeutic services, the answer would be no. If they are participating, you have a chance to enter how often. Okay, so in this particular situation, we're going to say that, let's say no participation. Current military status. Okay, we already said she's not a veteran, but what about her current military status? Now, please keep in mind there's also one called military dependent. So if she is the child or a spouse of someone in the military, I would still select this. Okay, it would be a military status and it would be a dependent status. So in this particular situation, I'm going to say not applicable for her. If I did fill in a current status, I could enter the dates, okay, to support whatever I've selected here. Obviously, I have NA here, so my dates would be blank, okay? Now, please keep in mind for these ones here, cognitive delay, 3 to 6 years old, okay? She is an adult, okay? So that is going to be NA, not applicable for her. Now, the next field is, see how you have some age ranges here as well. SMI stands for serious mental illness or severe mental illness, seriously mentally ill. They all kind of overlap. There's a couple of different ways to interpret it. However, it is very firm that that is for 18 and up. Okay, so if someone has a serious mental illness and is 18 and up, we are going to select SMI. SED and at risk is only for children. And if you click on the down arrow, if your client is a child and they have mental illness, they are at risk if they are from 0 to 6 years old. Okay. Serious emotional disturbance is from 7 to 17 years old. So please be mindful when you're filling out this field, the age of the person matters, okay? So we're going to say that she's here for emergency services intervention for a serious mental illness. I'm going to select SMI, okay? I would get an error back from the state if I marked her as one of the child ones and she's an adult. Okay, so keep that in mind as we get feedback from the state and we get dinged and have to go back and correct all of this stuff. So if you're mindful when you're putting it in, it really helps later. Okay. Number of prior episodes of substance abuse treatment. That is whatever they identify as substance abuse treatment. Okay. And we're going to say NA for her. And the number of arrests of the past 30 days. Y'all, I love this field because, bam, 31 arrests in the past 30 days. I think it's crazy that there are so many options. Hopefully, your individual has not been arrested 31 times in the past 30 days. However, the system does allow for that. I've never seen that really used in practice. It's usually 0 or 1, maybe 2 or 3 at the most, but I've never seen that many. Okay, so you fill in whatever makes the most sense again for the individual. I'm going to say NA for her, or I could have put 0. Either way would be fine. And then I'm going to save. And our demographic record will save here. I'm going to expand my column so you can see it. Effective today is June 9th of 2020 when I'm doing this, okay? All right. So then now that that's saved in there, I'm going to click the X, okay? And I will be back on my profile of client screen, okay? Hang in there because there's a couple more things that we need to fill in when we're creating a client chart. We always want to put in the address and phone number, okay? So even if someone does not have an address, we are still going to enter an address of our primary CSB building, and we are going to set that as homeless. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to click on the plus to add an address. Okay. This is the address where they receive their statement. So if they get a bill, where does it go? If it goes here, click the check mark. Okay. Address type. The ones with the Z's, again, sometimes we have to retire things. Please don't use those. The most common one are homeless if the individual does not have a residence, and you would put the main CSB address, okay, as their address. We would hold their mail for them there, and it's also a flag that there's no address to send this mail to, okay. Mailing address, if it's like P.O. box or another type of place where they receive their mail. Residence, if it's where they live, okay. You put their name here, Granger. I had to pick a very complicated spelling of name, and street name, okay. Apartment number, if it applies. The zip code, I love this little trick. You put in the zip and hit tab, it will fill in the information for you. Now, if your client has an out-of-state residence, the zip code will not pull. You'll have to put out-of-state here. Okay, if you have any questions about that, please follow up with me. It's a little bit tricky if we are working with the individual who is out of state. If it is a Virginia zip code, when you put that zip code in and hit tab, it will always fill in all this information for you. Okay. If you have any questions about what address to enter, what address to use, or how to mark something, please don't hesitate to ask. Okay, so I'm going to click effective date. Okay. Then I'm going to click the phone, fax, email tab. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plus to add. And this is pretty straightforward. I select what type of information it is. You can even enter email address. I'm going to put in cell phone. That's probably by far the most common. This is my cell phone number. If you have any questions about this, just call or text me. extension if it's like a work phone number. Sometimes our individuals live in a hotel. I've had that happen before. So the number was the main number to the hotel and the extension was the room number. So we would know what room to ask for when we called. So if there's ever a situation like that where there are some quirks about the phone number or address, or there's a little note that you want to alert other people of, like, hey, this extension is their room number because they live at the Best Western right now, then where it says notes, you can enter in a little note there. And then that way that information won't be locked in your head. It will be able to be used for everybody who works with or come into contact with that person. Okay. Permission, is it okay to text? Is it okay to leave a voicemail? We want to honor people's preferences. Okay, and we always want to ask. Okay, we don't want to assume, we want to make sure we ask the question. Effective and okay. If you have another type of a number to add, you can do okay new. If this is the only number you want to add, you can just click OK. And there's the cell phone number there. Now it is attached to the address. It's not my favorite placement. I wish the cell phone had its own tab. The phone number had its own tab. So just remember, you enter in the address and then you connect the phone number to it. So that's one of the reasons why, even if they don't have a residence, we still, like if they're a homeless individual, we still add that information in and we use the CSB's main address, which is right now the Central Business Park address. And if you have any questions on what to fill that out, just let me know. We're going to do plan of care in a separate video because that's adding them into a program. Right now we're just doing create a chart. So check out that video if you want to enroll the person into your program. Okay. So now I'm going to click on where it says notes/dates. We want to click there because there is a required field. What date is this chart effective? It is effective today. Okay, so whatever date you are activating the chart. At the bottom, you have a couple of choices, save and save plus. They both do the same thing. I'm a save girl myself, so I'm going to hit save. Okay, now this is a very common pop-up. The client tab has 7 desired fields. The green underline, not required, desired. Tells me 4 are incomplete. Would you like to provide values for the incomplete? Okay. If I have all of that information, like who their primary care doctor is and what their primary care doctor's address is, who their care coordinator is, I can absolutely go back and fill in those fields. However, it will let me bypass those when I select no. Then it should save my chart. Hit a quick no here. It's going to close. Don't panic, okay? Because now, as long as this magic has worked correctly, like it's supposed to, when I go click Navigator and I type in Hermione Granger, now she has a chart number. Her date of birth, name will appear at the top, and then I can proceed to add any more information to her chart that I need to. So that's it for this video on how to create a brand new chart in Profiler. If you have any questions, please reach out. I would be glad to help you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.